And that's it. So Microsoft SQL Server 2019 is installed, and now what I'm going to do is to install the SQL Server Management Studio, and I'm going to download, as I already downloaded this SQL Server Management Setup, so SSM Setup. Double click on that, and you can change the location, but I'm just going to keep the location as it is and click on install. And you have to wait a while the installation is completed. So the installation of Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio is also completed. So I'm just going to click on close. One thing, just to make sure that my elements are installed or not, I'm just going to check the control panel, and from the programs and features, you can just go down and see Microsoft SQL Server 2019 is installed here. So it should work. And one more thing that I want to make sure is when you write services.msc, we can click on that. And from services, make sure that the name of my MS SQL Server is appearing somewhere here. So this is what was the name of SQL Server, MS SQL Server. If you remember, it should be, the status should be running. So if my SQL Server is not running, then I will not be able to connect to it. So if it is somehow stopped or something like this, it means it is not running. So you can go and start this service. Now I can connect to this SQL Server. Okay, so let us see if my SQL Server Management Studio is installed. As a shortcut, you can write SQL Server SSMS, and now you can see that we have the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio 18 is installed. I'm just going to click on it. So once you start the SQL Server Management Studio, we need to connect to the SQL Server. If you remember, I just keep the name of my default instance to be MS SQL Server, and I use the instance ID to be default. So we can just use the name of the server as it is, so which is basically the name of my computer, which you can verify from here. Right click on your PC and then properties, and here you can see that this is the name of my computer. So just the name of my computer and MySQL server are same. So what I can do, or then I can directly connect by just only providing the server name here, and then I'm just clicking on connect. So once we connect, you can see in the Object Explorer, there are different folders available, the databases, security, and all those stuff. Here we are only concerned with the databases. So when we click on these databases, you here can see that there are some system databases, there are the database snapshots. So since we did not create any database here, let's go and create our own database. So right click on these databases, and I am clicking new database. And we need to provide the name of the database, so I'm just calling it db demo. And remember the location with the database in MSQL Server. There are two types of files associated. One is the primary file, and one is the log file. So these two must be together in the system. And here is the default location where they will be stored. You can change them to any other location if you want, but just I want to keep them there. So remember that later, if you want to find out where is your database, you need to go to this default location. As I said, you can change the location for both of them. Okay, and so just I'm writing this default, and I'm not changing anything. who is the owner of this database. I'm just keeping it default and click on OK. So in this situation, our database is ready, and when we click on this plus, you can see that inside this DB demo there are also different options available, and one of the main thing that we will be working is with the tables. And when I click on these tables, there are graph tables, external table files, some system tables, and these are all empty right now, but we are not going to use any of them for our project. The only thing that we will create the tables and use them. So for an instance, if we want to create a new table, we can just right click on this table and then click on new and click here table. So this one will basically open this table designer where we can write different columns. So last time I shown you that how we can create an ERD, and there were some examples of these objects that I created with some relationships. And let's say I want to create one table, and that is the department table, and with department ID and a name. And this one will be my primary key, and I want this to be auto incremented, that my database should create it itself, and the name which we will provide from the user interface. So for the department, I need a column that is department ID, and its data type that I want is basically an integer. So I'm just going to select an integer. Allow now, let's discuss about it a little bit later. And its name, there are two columns, and I'm just going to select this nvarchar 50. If you want to write some Turkish characters, we will use this nvarchar. So variable character means the maximum size of my department name will be 50 characters. Okay, and as we know that the department ID should not be an empty string, so I'm not allowing this null values. Similarly for the department ID, I don't want it to be null. And another important thing is that it should be a primary key. It means that the department ID should be unique for every department. So one thing I can do is right click on it and set as primary key. So this one will make sure that my department ID will be unique for every department. And another thing is I mentioned that I want to auto increment it. By auto increment, it means that when I insert a new department, I will only provide the name. The ID will be generated by my SQL Server. So to enable that, what I need to go here, select this department ID, and here it is an identity specification, and I'm just going to select this is identity yes. So this one will ask us for two numbers here, and this is the increment. It means that what should be the value of the first. This is the seed value. It means that whenever we insert the first department, its value will be 1, and then it should be incremented. When we insert another one, it should be incremented by 1, so it will become 2, then 3, 4, 5. You can start from anywhere, and you can set the increment to anything that you want. It's not a problem. So I just start with the department ID 1, or maybe 1000, let's say, and increment it by 1. And so that's it, and we need to save it. I'm going to save table and give it a name department and click on OK. So my department table structure is ready. I'm just going to close this department, and when I go here and right click and refresh it, or you can also refresh it from here, and now we can see our department. And if you want to edit it again, we can right click and click on the design as well. So this one will bring up the design. We can make changes and then save again. And when I click on this plus, we can see how many keys are here. As you can see, this is only one primary key. This is indication of the primary key. How many columns are here? We can see department ID. It is a primary key. Its data type is integer and it is not null. It means it cannot be a null value. And similarly, the name is an nvarchar 50 and it is also not null. And right now, if we want to see the data present in inside, so you can select top 100 rows. It says right now, if I click on select top 100 rows, so you can see here that we don't have any data right now. It basically created an SQL script. Basically, this is what the SQL script is. So this one says select top 1000 data, that is department ID and name from this department table. And let me insert some data into this table and then we will try to see it. So inserting data, I'm just clicking right click on it, edit top 200 rows. So I just click on edit. And as you know that department ID is basically auto incremented, so I'm not going to write it. So I'm just writing here department. So department of computer engineering, let's say computer engineering, enter. So one department is created and as you can see its value is 1000. I started from 1000. You can start from 1 or whatever you want. Another is the software engineering, and so it is incremented by 1. And another department that I want to create is electrical engineering, and so on and so forth. So these three data have been inserted and I'm just going to close it. And now if I execute this query again, so there is an execute button, you can see, click on that, and now it is basically displaying my department ID, name. So these three data are present in this table. So you can install the SQL Server and you can create your tables also. And in next lecture, we will see how we can connect our Visual Studios and SQL Server to some database. So see you.